Good evening. Welcome to the City of Shelbyville Mayor and City Council study session. We are meeting is open at 6 o'clock, and it's about 6 o'clock. We have an agenda here, but we've got a couple of things that we need to add. We've got a resolution that we need to add. Lisa, you want to read that, or you want me to?
I can,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. It is just a general resolution that we're required to do every 2 years. It's calling for an election in November of 2024. The election will be for 3 seats on the council, and that'll be Ward 1, 3, and 5. As I said, it's a standard resolution that we have to do every year, and I just got the email about it today. That's why it wasn't on your agenda, but it'll be up for your approval next Thursday.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone for public comments tonight? Anyone sign up for that?
Yes, sir, I believe we did. If you'll hold on just a second, let me get the book. Slacking on my job. Scott St. John. Mr. St. John?
Do you want me to speak now or at the end?
This is the public comment section, so you're gonna make a 3-minute statement to the council.
Sure. Thank
Good
you.
evening, Scott.
Good evening. Thank you. So as you recall, on this Jennings Lane rezoning request, at the previous council meeting, you sent it back down to the planning commission for review. They approved it for an R2 zoning on a portion of the property, what I'll call the interior portion. So that was approved. It would have come last month to the council. The developer, buyer, Mr. Larry Ross, who's in the room here today, they wanted to hold off for a month, meet with some of the residents in the adjoining neighborhoods, talk through some concerns, and really study out the restrictions of the existing adjacent subdivisions and make sure that they proposed restrictions that equaled or exceeded those adjoining neighborhoods. And so hopefully tonight you have a copy of a document that we have put together that really kind of digs into the nuts and bolts of the adjacent neighborhood restrictions to make sure that we understand those and that that the developer then will set restrictions that exceed the house sizes, the materials on the exteriors, the garage conditions, driveway conditions. And so they have done that. I know there's a lot of numbers, a lot of data in here, but the bottom line is they've set for the 13 lots that front Jennings Lane that have set or will agree to set restrictions on the house size that exceeds those restrictions of Garden Gate. And as we have talked before, the lot sizes are configured on those frontage to generally be of the same size of those frontage lots fronting Garden Gate. Then the interior lots then do step down in size, but the big concern from residents was the materials. We wanted to make sure they weren't of certain materials, so we've specified brick, stone, a concrete board product like a hardy board on all those, and set garage requirement and driveway requirement. So all of that data is in your packet there. But the other main thing that we have met and talked through and tried to get some of the residents to understand is if you go in R1 only, if it stayed all R1, 125 lots is what could be gleaned, what could be achieved. But that would require taking out the horse barns, a lot of the wooded area and so forth. And if this request is approved for an R2, then it equals that lot size, lot count of 125 lots. So we do have savings of woods and equestrian facilities.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else, Lisa?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the only other one is Amy Lee. Ta-da!
I can't see very good, so I made bigger pictures. If y'all go to the last page in the document that Scott gave you, that is what this property is zoned for. This is what we're asking for, which is bigger. This way y'all can see it. I couldn't see that little stuff in there. Maybe y'all want to.
Yeah, I'm good. I've got just smaller.
Okay, can y'all see? Does anybody else need a bigger one? This is like, so the last page shows that it's currently zoned as R1. And if we leave it as R1 to get 125 lots, which it is currently zoned for, it's all there, we're gonna have to mow down everything. We're gonna have every tree, every barn. You're gonna look from Garden Gate all the way over to Union Heights to Oak Knoll. It's gonna be flat as a pancake. And it'll all be houses. What we're requesting is to do that the smaller center as R2 and condense the houses a bit from, as you know, 15 to 10,000. That way we'll have enough doors to leave the barn in 15 acres. Larry has agreed to make sure that it's not going to be houses, that he's gonna zone it ag, and they'll put one house with it. We gotta give them a house to go with the ag, and it's 15 acres. We're leaving all the green, there's 7.5 acres of woods. They'll all stay. So you don't, it looks exactly as it is, except the pastures now will have houses on them. And there'll be 13 big houses on Jennings Lane with the side driveway, turn-in garage. Then nobody's backing out on the road. They'll be turning out. All right. So then if we don't, and it stays like the back page that it's currently zoned, there's going to be 17 houses going along that road. That's how it's zoned right this minute. So we're asking for you to do the R2 in the center, have a more upper end subdivision with with a horse barn and woods. Okay. Now you've heard all of that. When I started doing this process, I'd never done this. I'm in residential and I'm in farms. I don't know anything about this development, and I've sure learned a lot. When I asked what needs to happen there were two things. I had to get Wally's permission that he had to bless the subdivision, and he's blessed it as it for the R2.
I'll just keep that outside you.
Okay, and we had to get the planning committee to agree to that they agreed that the R2 is for this. It's getting a little tongue-tied here, and we've done both of those. And as I was told by y'all that you would vote for the subdivision if we had those. Wally and the planning committee were in agreement with the subdivision, and it is. That both people have. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have signed up for public comment.
Get these out of your way.
All right. All right, thank you, Lisa. Staff reports is the next item on our agenda, and I'll ask our city manager, Scott Collins, to give us that city manager update.
First thing I want to do, important mayor and council on is in a recent meeting, we started discussing the possibility of a special census. As y'all know, the census was done during 2020, which was kind of COVID. And we believe we have a little bit more than the reported numbers. So we are strategizing ways to maximize getting the count more legitimate. We're working with MTAS and some other cities that have recently conducted a special census. And some of these cities that are smaller than ours, through the special census, hard for me to say right now, but they have, in state share taxes, they have gained upwards to 2 to 3 million after their census. So in not the May meeting, but the June meeting, we hope to have a full report together to present to council for your consideration. The second thing is we're having a ribbon cutting on Wednesday, May 8th at 10 o'clock for the new columbarium at Willowmount Cemetery. And of course, council will be invited to actually cut the ribbon. Our sexton Vic Chapman is working with several key city people to organize it, and we're looking forward to that. So again, Wednesday, May 8th at 10 a.m. And the last thing, with the mayor and council's permission, I'd like to turn the rest of my report over to General Manager, CEO Jason Reese of the Shelbyville Power Water Sewage System. Jason.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Good to see you. Just wanted to make you aware of something that's recently come to the system's attention. And it just wanted to make you all aware of it first before it made it anywhere else public. Last Monday, I received a call from TDEC, and at the same time received a letter from TDEC reporting that we had exceeded our overflow limit at our pumping station, what we call our Schaffner-Bomer pumping station on Wartrace Pike. That was recently renovated. You may all know, Bobby, you probably know from your time on the board, and William, you as well. The system has put about 1.6 million, maybe with other just small jobs, about $2 million, I would estimate, close into this area through building a new pumping station, relaying the gravity sewer from the pumping station to Madison Street. So there's been a lot of work going into this area over the last 5 years or so, basically since 2019 was when the pumping station was rebuilt. And then we just completed the relaying the sewer at the end of 22. So with that said, with exceeding our overflows, we received a letter from TDEC saying that the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewer System shall enforce a self-imposed moratorium on connections to the wastewater collection system that ultimately flow to that pumping station. So basically what this is going to be is a moratorium on any sewer connection that has not been approved as of April the 22nd. Anything approved by us up to that point can still be connected. But this is pretty much property east of North and South Hillcrest Drive to the city limits. Ultimately, all flows to this area. Like I said, it's unfortunate. There's about 140 connections that we've already approved for that area, mostly Towns Landing and a few other areas. But like I said, this is all fresh to us. We're having internal meetings. We've actually got a meeting scheduled with our consultant engineers for Thursday morning to come up with a game plan to figure out how to knock this out. Like I said, that was Monday when I found out about this. We had a board meeting that following Tuesday night, so I made them aware of it and just told them, hey, we're going to come up with a plan. We'll have something for you, and we had the board's blessing to take care of it as quickly as we can. Don't want to put a time limit on timeline on anything because we still don't know. We got a lot of research to do. But in all, I guess with silver linings, I'll report, a little bit of good news with it being a self-imposed moratorium. It's not a commissioner's order. So, it should be quicker to have it relieved. Basically what we have to do is get with our consultants, come up with a plan, send that to TDEC to have them approve it. Show that with the new connections coming on and the I&I that we've located that we're going to try to eliminate, we'll take care of that, and then construction underway. Also, I found out something today. We hadn't had any reported overflows in that area from 2020 to 2023. It's all just been with the heavy rains that we've had since January of this year. So that gives me a little bit of hope that maybe there's been a line collapse somewhere that we're just not made aware of yet that might make this a quicker fix than than what we know at this point. But we're working diligently on it. Also, this isn't going to affect anything on the north side of town. This isn't what I would call the hotbed for development right now in the city. So this won't affect anything on the north side of town, Union Street, Jennings Lane, those type of areas. So, and everywhere else in town, from what I understand, we're in good shape. So, just wanted to make you all aware of that. We're going to notify, I have provided Scott a letter today, with our response to the state. We had 30 days to respond to them. That's been sent to them with our plan, to enforce it. So basically what we're asking the city is to not issue any building permits from this point forward for that area other than what's been approved at this time. But with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Yes, Mr. Reese,
Mhm.
while you may not have a time frame on this, can definitely understand that with all of the research that's having to go in. Is there a ballpark price tag on that? How do you rectify that? Is that going to affect your ratepayers or?
Well, possibly. We're first, we have to come up with the plan, get out, run our cameras, figure out where the issue is and how much is gonna have to be repaired to take care of just a very, very preliminary high level that we may be looking at, is probably a $2 to $3 million fix. That's, like I said, that's subject to change. And we've got to identify the funding for it. We're going to go out and see if there's grant funding, state revolving loans, but that's a little bit of a process. So, we may have to go to the bond market. You know, we just don't know, but those are all going to be discussions that we're going to have internally, here over the next few weeks and days. But as far as a timeline is concerned, we're probably looking at least 8 to 9 months before we can even have a design completed and surveys done before we can move forward.
But this won't affect the existing area, the existing ratepayers in the area that we're speaking of.
As far as
Any
service is concerned, oh, no, ma'am. No, this won't affect those people at all. They'll actually be getting some, like I said, we've repaired most of the gravity sewer in that area. I say most of the gravity sewer from the pumping station up to, Madison Street and kind of where it forks off to Legan Drive. One other thing I meant to point out, Brian and Waleed's office also has a copy of the letter with the map of the affected area. But we're going to be doing some work out there. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else have a question for Mr. Reese?
You know, one other thing, like I say, and you've heard me before when we've talked about, you know, needing funding for sewer repairs, you know, with the Little Hurricane Creek job and things like that. It's not just a Shelbyville problem. It's a state problem. It's a countrywide problem where there's aged infrastructure all over the place. And that's why you see so many grant dollars coming down for infrastructure repairs. So, and, you know, the way I look at it is we've got an aged system. We need to fix it internally before we can expand, you know, to give us that capacity to come on, you know, for further expansion. And we've eliminated a lot of 9I. Like I said, we didn't have any reported overflows for that 3-year period, and all of a sudden this has happened. So normally when you eliminate the I&I, then it's going to try to find somewhere else to go and try to find the path of least resistance. So we feel like that's probably what's happened here, but we're working diligently to get the problem solved and try to take care of it as quickly as we can.
So upon repairing, you will identify why it happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got good folks. We've got good engineers. And like I said, we're having those meetings internally and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Will there be any letters going out from you or any kind of a notification to anybody that may be looking at building in that area? Or Scott, or would we be sending out?
Yeah. Well, actually, Scott and I had a sit down today about it. like I said, they've got copies of the letters here, so when folks come in to speak with Waleed or Brian, things like that, they'll have that. We're also gonna notify the local realtors that may have listings in that area for vacant properties and things like that, just to let them know. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jason.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a discussion item, and it's Power Board applications. Scott, you didn't have anything else, did you? Okay. All right, Power Board applications, and we'll ask our city recorder, Lisa Smith, to tell us about that.
Yes, sir. We received 5 Power Board applications before the deadline, which was Thursday, April 25th at 4 p.m. I have spoken to all 5 candidates and verified the requirements that our charter states are necessary to be able to serve on the Power Board. I included a memo in your packet that outlines each one of them. The final step was to verify that they are a ratepayer with the power system. They all stated they were, gave me an address used to verify that. And I've sent that over to Shelbyville Power and should be getting back that information to verify that in the next day or 2. I need for y'all to kind of set an interview time. We usually interview the candidates right prior to our May meeting. So that would be May the 9th. We usually start the interviews a little early. We have 5 to interview. Mr. Miller and Ms. Mallard, who currently serve on the Power Board, have put their applications back in. William Wayne Hart and Jeffrey Howard. And then the final one was Tad Craig. And Mr. Craig informed me when I spoke to him that he will be out of the country starting tomorrow and will not be back until the 10th. So he won't be available for the interviews. So we'll be interviewing 4 people prior to the meeting next Thursday night. So what time do you all think you will need to start for that?
Normally, we give them, what, 15 minutes or so?
In the past, 15 minutes has been usually about the right time.
What do you think, Council?
Did Mr. Craig not even offer maybe a virtual or anything?
He's gonna be out of the country, so I'm not sure how virtual will be. He wanted me to leave his name in. He wanted to know if there was an accommodation that the council could make for him. I told him I did not know, I'd have to ask. So,
Good day, please. 1:30. 1:30 is probably a good time.
4:30? Okay, so we could start the meeting at 4:30, and I'll contact the 4 applicants and set times for them. Do you all want to talk about Mr. Craig, or I don't know whether you want to, he's leaving tomorrow morning, and he won't be back until after the meeting on the 9th, so the appointments are usually made at that meeting.
Final decision, we'll make that final decision that on the 9th.
On the 9th,
Yeah, so
at the end of the
he won't have an
meeting,
opportunity, that's what I
we would
think.
not have an opportunity to interview prior to that.
Okay.
Yes, Michelle, but you have to,
Right.
you have to vote. It's weird to change it.
Okay, all right, well, we'll start the interviews at 4:30, and I'll contact the applicants and set up interview times for them. And we'll hold them here prior to
Better to do it back in the conference room, or you'll do it here?
their public meetings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so we would have to allow for room for,
I'm staying.
that's okay. I think that's all I had, unless somebody has some questions about the applicants. I sent all the information in with your packet, so if you have any questions or any come up, just give me a call.
Any questions, Council? All right, let's move to item number 2, Retail Strategies Contract. That's a Placemakers grant, and we'll ask our city manager, Scott.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. A recommendation will be made next week to award the contract for Placemakers grant to Retail Strategies, who we're already enjoying a good rapport with and working on this. This is the $50,000 grant awarded by Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. And the city's obligation is $5,000. And with the Retail Strategy Act, they will provide our small businesses with 4 modules, holiday trends and preparations training, omni-channel training module, business modernization, and property owner training and toolkit. This contract has been emailed to each of you, and also our city attorney, city treasurer, and city recorder. And if you have any questions on it prior to next Thursday's consideration, please contact me at your convenience.
Yes, sir.
Say this was for any and all small business?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, any other questions about that? We're reaching out, of course, we've done some things, facade grants and things, Scott worked with on the square, so we're reaching out to the rest of the community, see how we can help them, or anybody around that area. All right, let's see, 54th Annual Fun Show Sponsorship, that's number 3, and we'll ask Scott to talk about that again.
Mayor, I just received an email, I think all of you all did, an email blast that just provided sponsorship information on the 54th Annual Spring Fun Show. And I did email the celebration management back and asked them if they were applying through the local grant, and if so, please give an application. And at this time, we've not received the application yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. All right, the next item is Winnett and Associates, the PLLC engagement letter for fiscal year 24. We'll ask our treasurer, Ms. Kay Parker, to tell us about that. Kay?
Right, I haven't read the whole letter, but we just got it today, but this is just, we have to engage some type of firm to do our audit each year. This is for this coming up June 30, 24. So this is just what we would need to approve if we want Winnett to continue to do our audits.
Okay, I think I read that this afternoon when it came in. Okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Of course, you can reach Ms. Kay about any time. All right, let's go to number 5, Shelbyville Bedford County Chamber of Commerce membership. We'll ask Scott to tell us about that. Please, Scott.
Yes, sir. Recently, there was a discussion about the city's membership in the Shelbyville Bedford Chamber of Commerce. And we did send our membership fees in along with a donation, and it was returned uncashed to the city. And so I just wanted to bring this up so council members can give directive on where we go from here.
No.
Yeah, talk about what we did.
What can we do? I mean, the city of Shelbyville's been a member of, the Chamber of Commerce, probably as long as there's been a Chamber of Commerce. Partnership gets control of it, and we're out. Can you explain that to me? Anybody got any ideas on that?
Well, I would think I could recommend multiple options. Again, there was a lively conversation recently, so some of the ideals were to have a joint meeting, possibly with either the chamber board, the partnership board, or designate the mayor and some others to go approach their chairman.
My recommendation would be that we meet with the Chamber of Commerce Board, if we can do that. I think they're the ones that name members for the Chamber of Commerce, and see if that suffices. I know they fall under the partnership now. Also, I would recommend that we write a letter or make contact with the state Chamber of Commerce directors and ask them of their opinion on what we might do, what direction we might take. I don't want to have 2 or 3 chambers of commerce working in Shelbyville. So we'd like to try to work this out if we can, as we've always done, reaching out and trying to make things work. That's my 2 recommendations. Anybody else have another recommendation?
I have a question too, Scott. Did you ever verify that it was the, partnership that actually voted not to let the city of Shelbyville be in the, or was it the chamber? Do you know?
No, sir, I have not had another conversation since last week.
That would be good to know.
Mr. Mayor, do we know if a private entity can actually, hold the Chamber of Commerce for a county in a city municipality? Can they override, can they take that entity in?
Yes, they're just 2 different 501c6s,
So there's 2.
different types of corporations.
Okay.
Yeah, and there, there's a contract between the chamber and the partnership.
Yeah, I think we've been a member since 47. Did somebody tell me? 47 or 48?
Whenever it was started,
Yeah,
sure.
Shelbyville is the name. of
Believe it or not, that was before I was born.
And going back to, I believe, Dr. Nader's question, the checks came back under the signature of the partnership
Right.
CEO,
Right.
not the chamber. Director, CEO,
Yeah.
general manager, whatever.
And not the chairman of the either board.
No chairman, it was.
CEO plus.
So we don't know if the board's even new.
I don't know what their structure is whatsoever. Never saw those contracts that he's talking to, so I don't know how that's set up at all.
Would that be public record?
It should be, particularly the partnership, receiving public funds.
That's right.
You know, that battle we fought before.
So, no member of the city government shall be allowed to sit with the chamber as a board member, as a chamber member. Is that correct? Is it the council? Is it council and staff? Is it directors? Is it
Right there.
the 2
Yeah,
is it
what
is it
employees that we have?
Specifically
Is it?
says, I think it's just talking about the government.
I think so. Says a government entity or something, doesn't it, Scott?
Fairly thinking it's just talking about the
Yeah.
city.
But they did send the check back that we had sent for my or the council's individual membership. That check came back to us too, right?
They
As
sent
a
2 checks.
membership.
Good what?
We had
They sent
sent
2 checks. back.
$460 for membership based on the number of employees we have to become a member of the chamber. And they sent that check along
Right.
with the other check, yeah.
And then we also had, since it was budgeted to give the chamber 5,000, we subtracted the 460 and sent them another check for the 4,000 and something
Right.
as our yearly donation.
Right.
And they didn't keep that either.
That's the first I've heard of that.
So, I mean, we were trying to give them the full 5,000 from the
Right.
budget that the
Right.
council approved.
So how many employees, Mr. Mayor, did you give them? What was that 400 and something?
The 460 online at that point, I don't think it's online now, but on the day we looked it up before we wrote the check, it said this category of, member and local government was in there. And it said if you had 51 plus employees, it was 460.
Okay.
So that's where we got it from. That was, back in
Yeah.
February, I think.
Right.
So if I worked at Public Works, I can't go to a chamber. I mean, what I'm saying is, no employee of the city of Shelbyville.
And I don't know about
think
individual, I mean,
individuals probably.
since you're a council member, they may say no. You'll just have to make an application, is all I'd say. Wouldn't you say, Kay or Scott? that if we just try it and see.
This is
Yeah,
new area.
it's new ground to all of us, right?
This
That's
is
right.
one adult group doing something that's like a 5-year-old kid. I'll say it,
Yeah.
it don't bother me a bit. This did not suit Mr. Hooper because we didn't fund the partnership. This is our punishment.
Yeah.
That's it. Look at it any way you want to look at it. Y'all think, I mean, I just can't, it just puzzles me that anybody, a grown person can do this, but they did, so.
Mayor, I would recommend that you all inquire of the chamber board
That's right.
what their rules are. They said that to be a government entity, I believe it's been a while since I read the letter, you had to be a member of the partnership.
Right.
I don't know. I know that there are other municipalities in Bedford County that belong to the chamber, or they publicly on their website belong to the chamber. If those entities don't belong to the partnership, I would want an explanation of that. But they could be. I don't know if they're members of the partnership.
Has anyone looked into that?
I don't know if anybody's inquired. You'd have to talk to the partnership.
And it didn't say how you become a partnership member. I don't know what the membership fees for that is.
I know what it is for Shelby, but I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, they were asking us for $100,000.
You get in for $100,000.
That's what they're asking us for.
I don't think that was probably a part of the original bylaws of the chamber, but I don't know, and I don't know what the contract between the chamber and the partnership says.
Right.
I don't have access to those
I'm
documents.
interested to see what the state chamber of commerce says.
Yeah, I think we need to have a letter, Scott, to that. I think Bob agrees with that. Did the rest of you agree with that?
Yes.
Contacting the state.
Yes.
And then we need to contact the local chamber of commerce board and see if they will talk to us about taking us back as a member.
You put that on your agenda next Thursday.
All right. Any other questions? Good discussion. Okay, old business. Looks like we've got a ordinance to amend the city code of ordinances, Title I, Administration, Officers and Personnel, Chapter 14, Purchasing Department, Purchasing Procedures, and to repeal any and all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing for an effective date. Do we have a motion on that? Oh, we don't, that's right, we can't vote tonight, sorry.
Next Thursday.
I want to move on.
Anybody have any feelings about that?
Does anybody have any discussion about that? We won't vote on it, but does anybody have any
I have a
discussion? on it?
question, is this, we're removing where the city manager had the, option to spend up to $15,000 without asking the council to move that up to $50,000, is that what this
That's what
is?
this is. This is your purchasing policy, yes.
Okay, does this also apply to department heads?
Yes, sir.
They have up to a certain amount.
Department heads are limited to, 5,000 within budget to make decisions on their own. 5,000 and 25,000 would be 2 quotes, 25,000 and 50 would be 3 quotes that they provide to me. And then 50,000 up comes to you all. And this is in alignment with TCA's recommendation.
Now, that's up from what, 15,000 was the
Yes,
top before?
and that's been, oh gracious, how many years?
I think it actually was 25 and we have not increased it to
Yes.
25.
Yes.
It's been 25.
Yeah.
The bigger thing also in terms of also speed is that it takes away having to do competitive bidding up to $50,000. She just takes quotes instead of doing, you have to do competitive bidding over 15 right now.
Yes. Yes.
And the 50 is within budget too, right?
All of that has
All
to
of
be.
it's
All of
within
it's
budget.
within budget.
Budget doesn't change at all. This is just changes our method and streamlines it a little. Brings less to you all, actually, for like $16,000-17,000 firework displays.
I kind of read it in detail this afternoon and went over it again, and I'm concerned about the $50,000 figure, especially if we, now Scott, and I know he looks over that and you do too. The department heads, I don't know about that at this point. I don't know why the rest of the folks feel. That 15,000 seemed like to me a pretty good figure, but Maybe it wasn't, I don't know.
A department head is not gonna spend 50 without coming through me and Scott.
Okay, okay. Okay.
They can only spend 5
But they wouldn't come through
within
us.
budget. It's all within budget.
They come through you through the budget. So
Through
you
the
all
budget,
have
through
already
the budget,
approved
but
it.
individually, yeah.
This is just helping streamline the purchasing process as far as staff time goes. Everything's still approved by this city council.
But it's approved through the budget, not approved on each purchase,
Yeah.
which has been done before, okay.
Right, so you,
Everybody understand that?
you wouldn't be selecting necessarily the vendor that they go through.
Right.
And remember, this is for things that would be really more capital or items that you're buying. You still got your 1 year and above.
Yes,
in there.
we didn't change that.
So anything that's an ongoing contract over a year still has to come to you, even if it's under $50,000. That's what TCA allows. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but that's what TCA allows.
I don't want to.
Can I hire
I don't
somebody?
know how the rest of you feel. That's a whole lot of money.
It's a pretty big jump.
I've been in business before, it get out of hand pretty quick if you don't watch it.
Well, again, we're not stepping outside of budget. And the next, well, not next, but in my section on the agenda is an item that is not in budget that we're bringing to you. So, and it's under 50,000. So,
Anyone else have any thoughts, opinions? All right, thank you, Lori, appreciate it. Okay, number 7, an ordinance to amend the city code of ordinances, Title 1, Administration, Officers, and Personnel, Chapter 15, Travel Reimbursement Regulations, and to repeal any and all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. Any discussion on that?
Now, this
go right
this
ahead.
is the second reading, as presented and approved on the first reading.
Uh-huh.
And it simply brings our travel regulations in line with the state requirements.
I read that this afternoon too, to look like it was right in line with that. Went over it again. Anybody have any questions about that? Not a whole lot of money if you go to War Tracer Bellwether, right? But it does kind of tie in with the state as I watched it, how far you were going and such things as that.
Yes, sir.
Trying to watch the city's money, folks.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any thoughts? All right, let's move to number 8, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the city code of ordinances, Title 8, Health and Sanitation, Chapter 10, Sewer Use Ordinance, Section 2, General Sewer Use Requirements, Subsection 2.1, Use of Public Sewers, and Appendix A, Pollutant Parameters. Mouthful. And questions? Thoughts?
What is it? I don't understand it.
Todd?
It was presented last month by General Manager, CEO Jason Reese, and he is here to address any questions you may still have after approval of the first reading.
It was basically, just adding language, in section, I gotta get back and look at it. In section 2.1 on the use of public sewers, if there's any private sewage systems, so say like a grinder pump or a septic tank, or private step systems came in to the city limits, some sort of protection for the city and the system in case of a failure, that the city or that the system would not be held, financially liable or responsible for any operation or repairs of those. The other area, the pollutant parameters, those are given to us by the state. They tell us that there's all different sorts of contaminants and things, pollutants that come in through the plant, and they regulate the amount that we can get in, that we can take in. And so the state's already given us those amounts. We just have to amend the sewer use ordinance to have it published in there. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any other questions for Jason or anyone? Anyone else have anything to say on that? All right, let's move to number 9, new business. Ordinances, this is first reading on this. An ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee to approve the rezoning of 57.97 plus or minus acres owned by James Baum and Elizabeth Gallum, located on the north side of Union Street, west of Jennings Lane, and referenced on Exhibit A below of the quitclaim deed as Tract 1 from residential R1, low-density residential district, to residential R2, low-medium density residential district, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. This is the property that we were talked about earlier. And hi, Wally.
Hey, good evening, Mayor. Good to see you all. Give me a minute here. I was just
All right, sir.
Here we go. So, Mayor, before I start, I would like to extend my acknowledgement for all our planning commission members. There's lots going on nowadays, and I can tell you, they're all volunteers, but the dedication that they're all showing is just phenomenal. I can tell you, all of them are just communicating with us, just wanting more information. It's no longer basically looking at it for an application for 2 minutes and deciding what to do. And also, as you might have seen in my email today, we are looking at more to do. Like, hopefully we'll have a subcommittee just to deal with all what's going on. So before I start, also, I would like to expand on what Amy mentioned during her quick presentation. Just quick overview, guys. So when you, for example, as a mayor, come in as an applicant, we as staff, our job is to help you out. So we have to explain to you as an applicant, hey, this is what we have, our policies, our regulations, our ordinance. Basically, this is the minimum expectation that we have. Be it that the applicant takes this to heart and decide to make changes or not, it's up to the applicant. However, we have a second hand. Once it is an official application, we stand for the public good. So we have to explain to everyone, including you, Planning Commission, and the public, what would be the best interest on the city. So sometimes that might create conflict because what the best interest is and the existing regulation can be different from what the applicant would like to have. Give you an example here, and I'm going to be very quickly going over it. When this came in last year, the application, and it's actually the 2 lots that you see, number 14 and number 120 on the slide. The applicant, when they came in, I can only tell you, they only had huge apartment buildings on the west side, way exceeding our expectation for the future land use map. We gave them the best advice. They were not convinced. However, over time, they started developing a relationship with us based on the pushback from the neighbors. And at the end, what you will see was mainly recommended by staff. And I'll explain to you very quickly what the situation was. Initially, when the 2 lots you see, one of them is about 18.19 acres. The second one is over 48 acres. They were outside the city, most of them, and there were 7 parcels. The 2 were annexed in the city. This was sometime earlier this year. And what staff recommendation was, and bear with me here, so after they annexed and combined the 2 lots, they decided to go to the land office to subdivide out what you see here, which is about 9.5 acres. And the bigger part, which will be the west side of Jennings Lane, which is 57.9 acres, is a different lot. So what that isn't doing, they're applying for rezoning the bigger piece. However, the smaller one that has a rectangular shape is going to stay as it is, which is R1. Automatically, when you are annexed in, you become R1. One thing that I actually would like to make clear, what you are deciding on next week is just zoning. So And I totally understand, and I totally do not disagree with what the applicant said. This is not a part, so there's no guarantee if they are saying that this is how they are gonna build this section with the material, we cannot enforce it on them. I totally believe what they're saying, but you know how it is, market change, and you might sell the lots, the new owner is not obliged to follow what's being said. We only wait to know for sure how it's gonna look like if it's a part. So again, this is not to take away from what the applicant said, but just I wanna be clear about expectations.
What would you say the only way we can make sure is how? Is-
Applying for planned unit development, which we call as part PUD, which is not this application. What we have is a standard zoning amendment from R1 to R2.
What if you put it on the city? And the deed goes with the land?
Should I speak to it? Or
Oh, sorry.
I'm not supposed to. So giving you a little bit of an overview, and I know you all know it, but just quickly going over it. This is what we're talking about. To the east is Garden Gate. This is what we know as Union Station. You haven't seen it yet, but here's another planned unit development that is gonna be presented to the Planning Commission next month. You will see it's a mix of different zones. Oh, and here's an apartment building here. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Are these two new screens not working right here?
Yes.
Okay.
The pointer's.
The pointer.
It doesn't show, it only shows.
Can you see
I see
that?
everybody having to turn around, I thought maybe they.
This is Union Station. This is the swing part that you will see in the future. And I know it's not working very well, but you get an idea. It has mixed densities. So what we're talking about is R2. Until 60 days ago, we used to call R2 as low density. We made a change in the name only, just to avoid confusion, because R1 is also called like low density. So what we call it low, medium density. So usually when we look at a zoning amendment, we look at the surrounding area, which I have shown. We also look at the existing zoning. You will see here that there's an R4, and I'm not even tired to use it anymore. To the southwest, you'll see an R4, you'll see R1, you will see different densities. And again, facing Garden Gates will be R1, very similar to Garden Gates. The internal area will be R2. That's what they're asking for. Another aspect we look at is our future land use map. So if you look at it, you will see that the site is actually envisioned for low density, which actually meets the requirements of R2. I know there was a lot of pushback and there were lots of misinformation, but what I'm talking about is actually just facts. When it went to the Planning Commission, it received favorable recommendation because the Planning Commission saw that it meets all the requirements for R2 based on the existing regulations. And again, they are showing a future subdivision. I'm just showing it to you because the applicant asked me to show it. I'm not gonna go over the details. Because again, you are just looking at zoning. And it's not a planned unit development, it's a standard zone. So if you approve it, they can do any development as long as it meets the minimum requirements for the subdivision. And I just wanted to go over the general highlights. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know there were lots of comments. If you are not sure about any of them, let me know.
Okay, so, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did that answer your question that you had a while ago about?
No,
So when you're talking about rezoning, normally you don't necessarily have somebody come forward and tell you what all their plan is.
Right.
I know why they've done this, just to show you how, based on the number of lots. Understand that them telling you that tonight doesn't obligate them and gives you no power to force them to do that. That's the difference. In a rezoning, once you rezone it, whatever is allowed in an R2, they can put in an R2, whatever they allow. So what Wally was saying, the only way you can control, when you do a PUD, they bring it all to you. They bring every little thing about where it's gonna be and where the roads are, all that. And it basically becomes a new zoning document for that area. That's what a PUD is. So you can control a little bit more through a PUD. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
But as far as the planning commission, of course, now meeting all it needs to meet. And it was put off the agenda on last month. I think I heard where the residents and such concerns were being listened to and that type of thing. What about those concerns? What about those residences, those individuals in the neighborhoods and such? I just wondered if that had any type of impact with any decisions, especially from the planning commission.
That's great. So, let me explain a unique difference between standard zoning and when you are doing a planned unit development. For standard zoning, you just apply, ask for what you want to do, and you don't even have to submit a lot of the studies, because if approved, the standard zoning, you will have to go through a subdivision and the requirement will kick in. So to give you an example, if you are doing a planned unit development, like the one you will see in a couple of months or so, we ask, it's a requirement to have the TIS, which is the traffic study upfront to be looked at and evaluated. If you are doing a standard zoning, this will kick in when you apply for subdivision. So a lot of the issues or concerns were about what's going to happen to Jennings Lane. This is actually being looked at now, and it will be part of, assuming this gets approved, they will have to apply for subdivision. They will have to address this in the subdivision application. So it will be addressed later on by our engineer. In a nutshell, if you are applying for a planned unit development, you have to do all the requirements and meet them upfront. If you are doing standard zoning, the requirements kick in at the subdivision stage.
The building and development.
Yeah, look at the last page, or the last written page before you get to the map on that handout. I think it may clear up things for you. You go to Bridal Crest subdivision phase 1, it shows about the square footage of the homes and things like that. Then you go to Bridal Crest subdivision phase 2, and you see the square footage of the house. Of course, we know the lots are 15,000 and 10,000 based on R1 and R2.
Exactly,
correct?
you know this.
Okay. Then as you keep reading on, if we do not have some kind of guarantee as a PUD or some kind of contract or something, look down at the very bottom what R2 could be.
And I haven't seen what you're looking at, Mayor. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, this is what the developer handed out to it. Permitted uses could be a single family attached, single family detached, double wide mobile home, or an accessory dwelling apartment, R2.
They're looking at something a little different than you are.
So unless we've got a guarantee of some sort, and it does talk about, in their phase 1 and phase 2, it actually says square footage, and then it talks about what kind of materials we used on the homes. And that's very important when we're looking at the public. The public's asking us, well, what are they going to build in there? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And we just kind of need to know.
So, Mayor,
sure.
I have been in this situation before. I want to be very careful about what we're talking about. What we can do as a city is the minimum requirement. Anything like this or anything different, assuming that they do it as part of the homeowner association, it will be up to the homeowner association to enforce it. We can only as a city enforce the minimum.
Right. Does everybody understand that you got to have a homeowners association? Now, we don't have one in Garden Gate. We've got requirements in my subdivision. I live across the street. We've got requirements and restrictions that I had to sign when built my new house in there. But I can take you to half of the houses that don't meet that restriction anymore. They got
absolutely, and I'll tell you from
changes
experience
and all that kind of stuff. So a homeowner association, unless you've got a real strong homeowner association with people paying dues and people agreeing that they're going to meet, you don't have any control.
And it's a civil matter, like assuming there's an issue between some property owner and the homeowner association. The city is not part of it.
Everybody kind of clear on that? Okay. Any other questions? Very good question. Good discussion. Okay. All right, let's go to the next item, ordinance on camping on public property.
Yes, sir. We have posted signs, around the area of public property. And we need to make a little tweak to the ordinance that helps the police officers enforce it. And that will be presented for your consideration before the end of the week. So you'll have ample time to review it before the next Thursday meeting.
Thank you. I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but down at Fisherman's Park, we're seeing families down there picnicking and fishing and all kinds of different things now. So good job, to the police department, public works, and everybody else in helping us in those situations like that. Okay, number 11, an ordinance to amend the adopted budget ordinance as amended. It's a lot of amendments there in that one little statement. Of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, various funds for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, the period ending on June 30th, 2024. Kay, do you need to say anything about that, or anybody have any questions for Kay?
I just put it on there so in case something came up.
Right.
Something may come up before next Thursday, it may
Uh-huh.
not. I don't know. If we need to amend the budget, add more money for certain items or something like that.
Okay.
I don't have anything at this time, but,
Kind of a placeholder.
right, it's a placeholder, but we don't have a grant for it.
Okay.
Bad joke.
Very good. All right. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Parker or for Scott on that? Scott,
No, anybody have any questions?
any questions? Budget time again. All right, the next item is an ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee to approve the rezoning of 3.38 plus or minus acres owned by Cooper's Steel Fabricators Incorporated, located on the north side of Eagle Boulevard, west of Eaton Drive, and shown as Exhibit A, final plat, below from residential 2, R2, low, medium density residential district, to industrial 2, general industrial district, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Wow, Wally.
Hey, this is gonna be an easy and quick one.
All right.
So what you see here on the slide is what used to be two different parcels owned by the same company, Cooper Steel. So what you see is 49 and 93 are now combined. You can see it actually, the combination plat now. So as we speak, it's zoned R2, and it used to be I2, but for whatever reason, 5-6 years ago, they zoned it to R2. The house that you see doesn't exist anymore. What they want to build is have kind of a, I would say, school or training center just for the staff, just over there. And that's why they want to rezone it to R2. If you look at the surrounding area, as you can see, you can tell it's all industrial. I have no idea why it was actually rezoned to R2 at some point. And you see, this is our future land use map. It's all designated for general industrial uses here. And no, this is a different one. And the zoning surrounding it is, you see, it's the gray/blackish one, which is all industrial uses. So this was circulated to all departments, and there were no reservations whatsoever. I know we will have to discuss it in light of the changes that Jason talked about earlier during the meeting. But from all other departments' point of view, it's an excellent location for R2.
Any questions on that, folks? We're proud of our local industry, Cooper Steel. They're doing great work. They helped us with their walking horse. They've taken over renovation of the Cooper Steel Arena. All right. Any questions at all? Thank you, Wally.
No.
All right. The next item is resolutions. Lisa, you step in if we've got any of these additions that we need to get to first, but a resolution of the city, of the Shelbyville City Council to repeal all previous ordinances and resolutions pertaining to planning and community development fee schedule and to adopt an updated planning and community development fee schedule. Everybody get a chance to hopefully look at that and go over it. Anyone have questions about that? Waleed and your group been working on that, haven't you, Waleed?
Yeah, so Mayor, so City Manager Ginger and Lisa talked about it after our combined session, if you
Yes.
recall, about the what's happening in the city.
Okay.
Again, just want to emphasize here on ECHO, we are not a business. This is not to generate any revenue. It's about covering the cost. And you'll see later on, we are really understaffed. We will be asking for more staff at some point, but we want to all be self-sufficient.
Okay.
Again, on ECHO, we are not generating any revenue. It's about not to have a deficit.
All right. And you've looked at everything about how much it costs and all those kind of things. That's how you came up with the numbers. I appreciate that. Scott, have you got anything to say along that line at all? Okay. All right. When will if we voted in, when will it become effective? Lisa?
It's a resolution, so otherwise, unless otherwise stated, it would become effective immediately.
Okay.
So if it's approved like next Thursday night, then Friday morning, the new fees would go into
Okay.
effect.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Thank you, Waleed, again. All right.
And may I actually suggest that each year you guys look at it or ask staff to look at it in case somebody, forgets about it.
Okay.
It should be updated, annually. That's what they do everywhere.
Okay, all right. And do we mail out, or we just put it on our website and stuff, if it does become immediately?
We update our website. We send it to all the applicant email list we have.
Good, very good, very good. Thank you, sir.
What you're doing is gonna get us even.
Yes, that's what.
Good.
Good, good.
And by the way, just for you to know, guys, shortly, May 7th, we are going to start our online platform. I know you know about it, the one we have been working on for a year and a half. It's going to go live next week.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. Okay, the next is adding that resolution that we talked about at the very first. It would be a resolution requesting the Bedford County Board of Election Commissioners to hold a general election on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of 2024. And we do have wards 1, 3, and 5, city council members that will be running for re-election. And that's Mr. Spellhouse, Mr. Hale, and Ms. Isaacs. All right. Any discussion on that?
That date is November the 5th. And it is the general election.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. All right, no business items that I see, Lisa?
No, sir. Some of these items that we had in discussion will become business items on your next week's agenda.
Okay, those items are, okay. All right, so the purchasing and bid items, and that is number 14, purchase a 2024 Chevrolet Equinox for the police department. And I see Miss Lori and our police chief, Jan Phillips, here, and I read about that this afternoon a little bit.
Okay. He may have to answer questions I don't know the answer to, but my part is they're requesting to purchase a Chevy Equinox off of Tennessee statewide contract for $30,445. They had a patrol car that was totaled in an accident in October. The insurance recovery was $21,269.67. The city treasurer advises there are funds available in the capital fund, and I think that's her preference to purchase utilizing the capital fund instead of the general fund. And the reason we're bringing this was not in the budget, although there are some insurance proceeds to offset it. And then they want this car to for the CID division.
Okay. Son, you have anything to say?
We've added one to our CID division. We have 7 there now.
Okay.
So that's why we're asking for this vehicle and the funds that were offset from the insurance.
Any questions for the chief or for Ms. Lori, our purchasing agent? Lori
Probably
Sapp?
buying a Chevrolet instead of a Ford.
Some state contract and it was cheaper.
You need to remember that when you buy your police car.
Well, this is not a police pursuit vehicle. It's a civilian vehicle. It'd be the CID.
This is a very difficult time of year to find any vehicles.
Yeah.
Because of, they're pretty much all sold.
Flipping over to the next year. Okay. Okay. We don't have any electric vehicles in our fleet, do we? Thank goodness. We do have a charging station up behind City Hall, don't we?
Decommission.
Doesn't work?
Decommission.
Doesn't work, okay. Thank you, folks, appreciate it. All right, appointments, we have a park board student member appointment. And, we have someone, Miss Lisa told me.
Yes, that's correct. I spoke with them today and I believe that they will be willing to serve. Actually sounded really excited, but since it is a student member, he wanted to discuss it with his parents and call me back tomorrow just to confirm.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Lisa, for reaching out. All right, number 16 is a power board, and of course, 2 appointments, and those interviews will be held at 4:30 on our city council meeting on the 9th. Other business, do we have any?
No, sir.
Anyone? All right, announcements, do we have any?
Lisa, what the guys, Jeffrey and Doobie and Irvin
Jeffrey Howard, Tad Craig, of course, Doobie, Mallard, Irvin Miller, and
Wayne Hart.
Wayne Hart. Yeah, William Wayne Hart.
All right, any other questions about anything? If not, let's adjourn.
and